everyone, and welcome back to yet another FRW podcast, Season 2, Episode 2.
Ooh.
In this episode, we'll be talking about vending, some of the best experiences, the worst experiences, and everything in between. So, Alyssa, what are some of the events that you guys have had the opportunity to vend at?
Well, we have traveled all over the country to vend at different shows. We've been to Nocturnal, Beyond, Escape, Countdown, EDC Las Vegas, EDC Orlando. We've done Global Dance Festival in Colorado. We've done Paradiso. We've done Freak Night up in Washington. We've done Decadence in Arizona, DOS Energy, Boo, Arizona, Crush 8, Arizona, Audio on the Bay.
Dang!
Imagine.
EDC Orlando? Did you get
I
that
did
one?
say EDC Orlando. A couple in smaller, like some smaller shows.
What were the
too.
Dallas shows?
Yeah, it's a couple. Lights All Night,
Lights All
and you did some slimy bass one time too.
It was a bass congregation. It was it was awesome. It was about 25 degrees outside. It was like a freak winter storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Dallas isn't supposed to get freezing, and it was so cold, but everyone's still around it. I said Dallas.
Oh,
Das Boot.
DOS Energy. That was warm. That's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've been all over the place.
Dang, that's quite the list. So, obviously you guys have mad experience in the topic. What are some of the first steps that you have to go through in getting a tent for vending at a festival?
Well, you could wing it. That's what we did. Or you could just find the email address on the support, from the festival website. If there's 4 emails listed, put them all on one email, send it out and say, hey, I'm interested in vending.
Help me
out. And then someone's going to point you that way, because it, for the festivals, is a source of income, and it's revenue that they need. So they want to find people to work with for the most part. Obviously, there's some exceptions, but yeah, just reach out.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid at all.
Yeah, just contact the shows you want to go to. Have realistic expectations of what you're gonna get, and just you gotta try.
So is there only an initial payment to set your spot, or do they take tax on what you guys sell too?
Certain shows are different. For the most part, everything we did was just a upfront sum, this is what it is. I can't think of any shows that we did that were a portion of sales. But I know that they're out there. I'm pretty sure we've been hit up by places that are like, oh, it's this plus 10% or whatever it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So majority, they don't do that. So that's awesome. So you just pay your fee to get your spot, and then you're good.
Yeah, and you're good to go. And some of them will let you pay, on the spot, show up, give them a check kind of deal, because if they haven't collected the money by that point, they won't let you set up.
Yeah.
Other ones want you to submit it, a month in advance or 2 weeks in advance. And when you develop relationships with different venues, different festivals, production companies, I guess, you can sort of customize that as you go.
Okay.
If you buy more than one show at a time, you can get a discount. So if you are in the festival space and you're in it for a while, you can save some money.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So it's
packages.
Yeah.
First, some production companies offer it, but it really is, nothing's a blanket statement for every show. It really just depends on the company that you're working with, the person you're working with, what kind of relationship you have with them, and what kind of commitment you're trying to put moving forward.
Yeah.
How long do you guys get to set up the tent? Do you get there the day before, or is it get there at 6 a.m., power through it, people are coming through the gates at 4?
Every show is different. The smaller shows, you're usually, you can start at 9 a.m. that morning. Bigger shows, EDC Las Vegas, we started setting up Thursday nights.
Okay.
But
so you have at least a day.
Yeah, you set up all night or through the day.
Catch a little sleep.
Or not.
Yeah, so each show is just a little bit different. And depending on the size of our booth, it could have taken us anywhere. I think the fastest we ever set up a 10 by 10 booth was maybe 4 hours, and typically our 20 by 20s were 15 hours worth of work just to set up.
So That brings me to the next question. Do you have to bring everything in, or do they have like a bare bones like little structure set up for you guys that you just have to like decorate and put your garments and such in?
It fluctuates. It changes. The general thing is to get one of those like white canvas tents that's already set up.
Okay.
But
sometimes they have walls.
Sometimes they have walls. Sometimes they come with electricity as a part of the like package, or you have to like, pay extra to have electricity.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, you want electricity.
Yeah,
so
of course.
If that's ever an option, like, don't
you
skip
basically
on it.
need it.
Because at nighttime you can't see, and there's always been those festivals where we've like can tell that somebody is new because they didn't bring enough lights, and so at night then their booth is just dark. And when you're at a rave and your booth is dark,
no one's gonna go to it.
You're not attracting any ravers.
We're like little bees, like
where's
the light? Where's the light?
Yeah, you gotta put up a light, and then all the ravers are attracted to it, right?
Like, ooh, pretty. What's this? Sparkles.
Yeah.
Do you guys get to pick a spot at all, or at least a section that you might want to be in, or is that just like a free for all? They just pick and choose whoever?
Definitely do not expect to choose your spot.
That's a bad expectation to have.
That's a huge.
It might be a reasonable expectation.
Yeah, but it's not like a trade show, and you're not like typically paying, to know. You're definitely not going to find out where you are before you get there for the most part. As you start to develop relationships with companies and you've been around for a while, you start to have a little bit more pull. But for the most part, we didn't get to choose our location.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
What are some of the best vending experiences you guys have ever had, whether it was with like a customer or, the production company really worked with you guys, or like just the whole vibes were on? Can you guys think of anything specific?
I mean, I can think of a million like horrifying stories.
We'll get to the horrifying.
Just
after.
I mean, where we started off and it was like, this is a disaster, and obviously we're positive people, so we made it work, and it turned out to be a good experience. But like, I can specifically remember Paradiso. The first year we went, they let us pick where we wanted to be. We showed up and never been to the venue before. The wind was outrageous. We decided we were going like 4 days before the show, right after EDC Las Vegas.
Oh.
We drove up there in a minivan. We brought as much as we could, but the wind was so bad. We almost were like...
They didn't have tents. Like,
they didn't have tents for us.
They didn't have tents for us.
So we had like our little $80 Walmart tent in like
on
30 mile per hour winds. And
oh my god,
it was
we were thinking about just leaving.
We almost didn't. We were like, we can't set up right now. We got there in the morning.
If I had my way, we wouldn't have done it.
Well,
I was like,
both years of Paradiso, but the first year I was there, and we were like, let's just make it happen. We kind of just put up a shanty booth and did what we could, and it ended up working. But I mean, I think we started set up at noon. By the time the wind had kind of died down, and it started at 4. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then last year at Paradiso, same kind of issue. I was in Florida, and Mike was in Paradiso, and he's on the phone with me like, Alyssa, you don't understand. Like, the wind is so intense. We can't do this. Like,
and they didn't have a tent for us again.
Yeah, and we can't do this. And it
was. I was like, if you've been to Paradiso, the main walkway that goes down the hillside, they have these big lights that are substantial, like light poles.
Yeah.
And I was like attempting to string grid wall in between those poles so that it had some like structure to it, and then you put some stuff up on the hangers and the wind would take it off. You're like, oh my god, how is this gonna work?
Yeah.
There's gonna be so many people here, and like, this is a disaster.
We've had a lot of shows with lots of wind, and we've learned how to work around. Okay, when it's going to be windy, we know which side of the wind to put our stuff on, and how do we keep the other side, the stuff from flying off the racks. Like, we've got that down pretty much at this point, but it was certainly a learning experience, and there's definitely been times where we were like,
we just didn't expect it to be
like, we would be like, there's no way we can make it work. We've definitely never quit on a show. We always see it through.
Yeah.
But
that's a good track record.
We've had some times where we're looking at each other like, how in the hell is this going to work? How can we make this work?
Yeah, I would say the festival tour is like, I know we want to see what was really dope and what was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can 100% say that all the people you get to talk to, that makes
Amazing.
it worth it.
That makes it
because
worth
everything except that part really is hard.
Except for the vibes and bonding.
So that lets you know that it is such a positive experience, especially when you are going one festival after the next, weekend after weekend after weekend.
Yeah.
If you're
Good
willing to go
training.
through all of that effort,
Mhm.
then it must be a really cool high when you're there talking to the people that are like helping support you.
Yeah, you meet
That was
amazing people and your customers and fans, and you grow like a family, and that
Yeah.
is incredible. There's nothing that can replace that experience. Even just going and walking around trying to recreate that experience, I've never been able to.
Well, because you're just talking to
So
the
many
best parts of the
people.
festival are when you finally break out of your shell, you talk to someone, you're vibing with that person, you're like, wow, this is really cool. Like, being human isn't that bad. and in a festival or in a booth, you just have people walking in nonstop.
Yeah.
So that barrier, there's not a big barrier in a rave,
No.
but there's still a barrier.
Yeah, of
Right.
course.
And it's still uncomfortable to have to break out of that all the time. Or, you might find one new friend and then they're a part of your group, or like you find a new rave fam and your rave fam like bonds. But when you like make 50 new rave fams
Yeah.
in a night, it's really fun because you're just talking to so many people.
I
So-
think my favorite part, and before I go into that, our booth was like a store. So, we put a lot of time into setting up our booth, making sure the lighting looked good, we had backdrops, everything was, just on point.
Mhm.
And some people just need to throw out a table and their stuff and it's done for them. So I guess it really depends on what type of vending experience you want to bring. Like,
Yeah, if you
I
want
don't
one
want to be
product
like,
or multiple
oh, it's so hard. But if you're just pulling stuff out of a box and putting it onto a table,
That's true.
that's
We
easy.
probably
Yeah.
had we were probably taking, I would imagine, with 300, 400 variants to a
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
like our whole store, everything was made by, every piece was made by me exclusively at that point. So I was on the road restocking pieces from between festival to festival. So for us, the work that we put into those shows was just, I would say astronomically higher than what most people probably put into their
Yeah.
vending booths. But, it's a rewarding experience. Obviously, we love doing it. I think my favorite part of it is literally knowing, once you've been to a show in the same area a couple times,
Knowing the people you're
they
gonna
run
see.
up to you and they're like, oh my God, Alyssa, I missed you. Da, da. We've gained friends in all of our different regions just by being there, and it's sad because we never see them anymore. But I loved that. I loved all the girls, guys, friends that we made from raving, where their first stop was, where's the FRW booth? I have to see Mike and Alyssa,
That's
and
really
that's really
awesome.
cool. So I definitely appreciate that and value that tremendously.
Did you guys bring other people with you to help out, or it was just you two?
It was just us two to start that, and then as we grew and got bigger,
Yeah,
we
the
brought
first
more
8
and more
months or
people. So,
Is there a
the
cap?
last
Is there like a limit cap on how many people you can bring?
Yeah,
Yeah.
each show is different. They give you a certain number.
they
of vendor
they
passes.
normally give you like 3 or 4 passes, and you get 3 or 4 passes, and you get maybe a camping spot. If it's a camping festival, or
Okay.
you don't typically have to pay anything to bring your people in, unless you're like, hey, I've got 2 extra people that are coming in. They might charge you like $90 if a ticket costs $150. Or they'll just charge you the full ticket price and say, hey, tough.
Oh.
Tough luck.
Yeah, but as you
Each
get a
show's
bigger
really different.
booth, you can have more and more people, and
Yeah.
so don't feel afraid to ask for that.
Yeah.
Our EDC booth, we had
8.
say 8,
20 by 20, we had 8 people.
8 people working.
Wow,
for the
that's
weekend.
a lot.
Yeah, at the booth. I mean, and it was pretty crazy.
And obviously you guys aren't all there at the same time. Do you guys work out a schedule? Like, hey, we really want to go to this set, so we're gonna be gone from 5 to 8, but then you guys really want to see the next set, so you guys can leave and we'll be here from 8:30 to 10. Is there do you guys do that, or just play it by ear usually?
We used to do a little bit of both. The only one that it's really seems to be difficult is EDC. For the most part, most of the festivals we're at, our workers will get to pick one set or something. Okay, when do you want your break? If it's an 8-hour show or whatever, and we'll try and work everyone around. It'll usually go by seniority. So if there's 8 people and they need to see, they'll take their hour break during the set that they want most, as long as somebody else that's more senior in the employee sheet, I guess, would take it. But like, it's usually pretty easy. It also depends on flow. Like, sometimes there would be nobody there, and then all of a sudden it'd be so overwhelming. You know, 50 people are waiting to try things on, and there's a line to do the, to check out, and we're trying to restock, and it was really unpredictable kind of how the traffic was going to flow.
How difficult was that for you guys, just you two, having to run people trying on stuff and checking them out and still talking to them? Like, was that impossible? Or
there were times where it was on. I mean, it's just a skill. You learn how to talk to someone and still check out, but try to deliver as much courtesy as possible.
Yeah.
And you're still working, so it was really hard because when we didn't have the luxury of having extra helpers, we had to try and manage it all. But as we had an awesome team around us, we wouldn't have been able to do it if we didn't have so many awesome friends that were willing to come down. Mostly do it out of support for us. We paid everyone and made sure that we gave them outfits and did as much as we could as a small company. But definitely for the amount of work we were all doing, we were all underpaid. So that was a lot of love that our friends showed us to
That's
help
awesome.
build it.
That's always the Plur spirit.
Yeah,
Got
exactly,
to keep it alive.
exactly. So that was cool. And I mean,
do you guys keep the tent open the entire time, or is there a certain point where the festival or producer is like, okay, this is your cutoff, 1 a.m., or is it all the way until the end usually?
It's usually the whole time.
Oh man.
Gate open to gate closed.
Yeah.
And usually you wait
usually
until
you have
people
to stay open. Usually that's stipulated in the contract that you're not allowed to close.
Okay.
You can't leave early because it would look bad if a bunch of vendors were leaving before
the
end of the show.
Yeah.
So you can't do that. But
so EDC, you guys were there until 6 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. More like 7, because you wait for all the stragglers to come out. It's not like the show ends at 2 and everyone's out the door by 2:05. It's 2:45, 3 o'clock. All those slow movers are I don't want to leave the festival yet. And so usually we're there. We're there a couple hours before it opens or whatever. And on non-setup days, we're there many hours before it opens. And we usually didn't eat. I mean, I remember going during our setup days at one-day festivals. We'd go all day and we'd be like, oh my god, it's 1 a.m. and neither of us have eaten.
I'm starving!
It's crazy. It just is so hectic and a lot of stuff going on.
Can you usually hear the music, or is it in a dead zone?
It depends on each festival's different. We've had places right by the stage and you're like, hell yeah, this is perfect, whatever, main stage, side stage view. And then we've also had shows where you're right in the crosshairs of 2 or 3 stages, and you're just are you kidding me? You can't hear the people that are talking to you, you can't hear yourself, and you're constantly getting a mix of hard style and trance and main stage, and you're like, what's happening?
It's disorienting for sure. If you have the wrong setup, it makes it harder. So those are things to think about when you're choosing a vendor space, when you're choosing a festival to go to. Ask about the vendor space, because some of them have given out general ideas before the show. Most of them don't, but at least you can get an idea of how you should set up. Should I leave the two opposite ends of the booth open? Is it something where I'm on a corner booth, or I can create more of a walkthrough as opposed to just a table in front? We always opened up our stuff so people could walk in and be surrounded by the products more. And,
so they'll give you a bare minimum description sort of where you're gonna be. Are all of them if they give you a already made tent, are they usually all the same? Besides size, obviously. Or
typically.
The tents are all
unless someone's worked out a side deal where they're a standalone booth somewhere else, or they're bringing in branded a branded tent or something. But no, it's interesting. There's a lot to consider, but it's also, like we said, really rewarding. I wouldn't take those years back really for anything, because it was wild. I also would do things very differently going forward, because it's a challenge to grow a business when you're burning it like that.
Yeah,
especially when we were, I was making everything in the trailer, the sewing machines. I
we're little
sewed
hicks,
at
dude. We're little-
locations, like behind the curtain, like sewing to restock stuff. I remember events doing that.
That's some stamina, guys.
We're carny folk.
My parents were like, "Oh, you guys want to go be carny folk and go?" We're like, "Yep, we do. Let's do it. We're gonna love it." And we did. We loved it.
Do you guys see yourselves ever doing that again as the company grows, or would you probably just send employees out to do all that stuff for you?
We have some sweet plans for when we get back into the, we'll call it
Vendor space.
Vendor
Traveling,
space.
yeah.
Vendor
Yeah,
space.
but more like the pop-up shop place.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
So we have a bit, like, we'll announce a good tour here, but it's a little preview of what's to come. We'll be doing a lot of-
Maybe we'll have a pop-up shop podcast episode coming soon
Exactly.
too, guys.
Yeah.
I
I
mean, we'll be hitting like
We'll
all the
definitely
major
go.
cities that are close to us and just expanding from there.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. I'm excited for that. You guys look out. The pop-up shops are coming your way, hopefully.
Hopefully.
The best pop-up shop.
The best pop-up
yeah,
shops.
Yeah. I mean, I loved going out there and meeting people, traveling. It's a lot of fun. It's just the way we were doing it was exhausting. And
Yeah, it's such a small company with not as many resources yet.
yeah, I think it would be a lot different doing it now.
Did you hear that McKenna said she wanted to go with Ricky?
Oh, good. You guys guys are
Yeah, we'll get in that
we'll
as
train
soon
you
as
real quick.
as soon as I graduate college in December, because I can't do that at the same time, or else
How bad would it be if we're like, hey, we're going on tour next week, you come in?
And you'd be like, ooh, do I need college or do I want to travel the country, go to music festivals?
I'll just pay off my student loan bill. It's fine.
That's just funny. Yeah. I like it. I like vending.
Yeah,
Go back?
We'll definitely go back. We just got to figure out the right
Way.
relationship. The right
Yeah.
way.
I'm thinking, summer 2019 would be a good kickoff time when
Yeah,
festy season starts. Start with LIB.
We
Woo!
have to throw an international show on there as well.
Tomorrowland.
Tomorrowland, Japan.
Wait, how? Okay, so if you're gonna vend at one of those places, how the hell are you gonna get everything?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm
you know
wondering
what's-
that same thing, Mike.
No,
Pay $3,000 to ship all your stuff.
well, yeah.
Like
and
3 months in
$5,000
advance.
for a booth.
Listen, you pay a lot of money for sure, but it's to go out and have a good time. Yeah,
Japan would be fun.
I didn't think all of it.
But
through.
I'd be down to let's just go to one of those.
Yeah,
We'll
let's
save the vending for
experience it
later.
first so
I
that
was-
we
I
get the
was
lay of the
gonna
land.
I was gonna slide into a DM. I was gonna email the 3 or 4 emails on their support page.
I'm not worried about getting in. I'm
I was
worried
gonna
about
get a
getting there.
response,
Yeah,
and then we were
getting
gonna-
their part.
We would definitely have to, if we did an international show at this point, I would imagine we would probably hire some sort of like entertainment company or whatever to come in and set the booth up, just pallet the clothes over and take a smaller variety of stuff. Not
then maybe
obviously not all of our SKUs, especially now. We could never take our whole store to
We'll
the
take
show now.
we're gonna take all the mom and pop love out of it and get super corporate with it.
Yeah.
We're gonna pallet it all up. We're not gonna make any of it. We're gonna send
No,
it.
we still are gonna make it.
sounded
Well,
we
maybe
gotta-
10 years from now we'll have a
What are we
private
gonna
plane.
do?
There we go.
Or we could all go and we could take our 2 bags full of stuff. You're not allowed to have
We could sell
anything.
it
You
in
can
the
bring a
parking lot.
backpack for your own stuff. Your 2 bags. Those ones are FRW
Yeah.
merch. No, but we'd have to like.
Yeah, you get your toothbrush, like
Yeah.
3 pairs of clean undies,
Exactly.
like
exactly.
you just
you
wear
can buy
the
your
Rave
outfits
stuff.
when you get there. But it's probably
Oh,
a lot
God.
of custom stuff to go through to make that happen. And
Oh yeah. Well, that's the dream, guys. We're making it there.
Yeah.
We'll get there eventually.
it'll be fun.
It's gonna be a W. Lost Lands is this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as far as events that I would love to vend at,
Yeah.
Lost Lands would be one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should definitely.
Because there were, the crowd was just so.
Basic.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Good vibes.
Good vibes. Good
Good
vibes.
Yeah. So I would love to also make it back into the festival thing, not just pop-up shops.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
So
That's kind of
that's
also a hard deal. Like, unless we're gonna pile in the big old Winnebago and like take everything cross
Winnebago?
country.
I mean, how do you think we did it?
You did? Oh, that's what you guys did.
Yeah,
Did you vend last year there?
No, we didn't vend there last year, but we've done, EDC Orlando, we've done Imagine
okay.
in Atlanta. We packed the truck, we took the trailer, and we drove across country. Talk about some wild stories. Last year, was that 2 years ago when we did Imagine to Nocturnal? Or last year? I don't remember.
Anyway, it was one of
So
the 2 years.
we had Imagine, and it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was in Atlanta. And we drove there we had DOS Energy and in Utah. And we stayed there for a week or two with Mike's parents. And then we drove from Utah. This was our first trip with our trailer. Drove from Utah across the country. We picked up a friend to help work the booth in Denver. Flew him to Denver, picked him up, drove to Atlanta, set up our stuff.
Atlanta from Denver?
Yeah, it's like, Utah.
From
There's
Utah?
like 2 ways to go. One's got mountains, right? Is that why we went went the flatter way? And so we get to Imagine. We do Imagine. That was pretty wild. That show, some crazy stuff happened.
So this is what happened at the vendor.
Let's
This
hear
is
it.
what happened, okay? Because this is one of the places where we didn't know what our booth was going to look like. And,
No idea. We've never been to the show either
year,
before.
at the Speedway, they put us inside the garages of the
NASCAR
things.
tracks. But the festival, the stages were like on one end and then on the
So
other end of the
it was like a
Speedway.
convention and then like a festival.
And
pretty
everyone
much.
walked here.
And we
and
were
then
in
up,
the middle.
up these things where the garages were where the vendors were. And
That's poor design.
no one could walk in without like walking out and around. It was the
not.
lowest attended event that I think we've
As
ever
far
done.
as booth, yeah.
As
that
far
was
as the amount of people that walked by.
So that was boring. I
That-
bet.
It was so bad.
It was really
Did you bring
tough.
a
And
speaker at
it
least?
was 3 days.
Yeah,
You know,
it was nice to be fun.
It was tough, and it was hot in 3 days, and that was a tough one. But as soon as that was over, we had to leave, and Nocturnal was the following weekend, and our setup was on Thursday. So the show ended Sunday night. Some crazy stuff happened in the show, and we go to pack up Monday, midday, and we're like, all right, we got to get in the car, and we got to drive back. We need to be in San Bernardino by Thursday around noon, and it's a 30-something hour drive.
Dang.
And we're like, all right, we got to be there. So we go to hitch up, and the motor on the hitch, right, in the front wasn't working. So we couldn't, lift the trailer with the motorized thing, so we had to hand crank it.
Oh.
And then we couldn't get it on the hitch, and the hitch was loose. So it was just...
Nightmare.
Oh my gosh. And we were out kind of in the middle of nowhere in Atlanta, and Mike had to go find... Where'd you go? You found, a U-Haul store or something. Some guy called AAA, called our trailer thing, came out, fixed it, switched the hitch out, and it was just, wild. We finally leave Atlanta at 6 o'clock at night, and we're like, let's do this. It was me, Mike, and our friend Randy, and we drove
nonstop.
straight from Atlanta to San Diego with no significant stops. We stopped to get fast food, we stopped for gas, but what we would do is one person would drive for the full tank, it was about 4.5, 5 hours, and then we would rotate. And we would, just the three of us, rotated through that whole time. We ended up getting back to San Diego by I think it was 36 hours. We just kicked it. Got back to San Diego.
So this is
slept at home
Tuesday night?
Yeah, it's Wednesday night.
Wednesday
Slept
night.
at home for one night, and then the next day drove up to San Bernardino, set up our booth at Nocturnal, and then had a 3-day weekend at Nocturnal.
Oh my god, did you guys die after that?
And that was our first 20 by 20 booth. That was tough, tearing down.
Oh,
That was a long one.
You
and
guys.
we did custom hoods that weekend as well.
Yeah, it was fun.
That was a tough week. I think we probably got
Now
back.
we
and
sip
made
lattes.
stuff.
now we
No,
sip
we sipped
lattes
a
and watch
lot
the
of-
sales.
We sipped a lot of lattes back then.
Now we just
we
chill.
had
This
coffee
is funny.
all day, every day. But that one was
Damn.
pretty nice.
Now we're making FRW fan collection merch from a cozy air-conditioned studio.
Oh, air conditioned. Okay, just for a second, you guys. I got to explain that Mike is a polar bear because I swear the office right now and every day is like 48 degrees. Like, this is no lie. I'm wearing a hoodie and I'm pretty sure it's like 85 degrees outside.
It's probably 90 actually.
It's so hot outside.
Yeah, you go outside, it's like a system shock.
Yeah, you should go in my office because a lot of the vents are facing
Oh.
there. It's like
It's freezing.
It's just like
freezing
icicles
cold.
growing out. It's fine.
Like
It's perfect. It's perfect.
So if you ever come into shop, maybe bring a hoodie with you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like-
I'm just trying to sell hoodies. I'm trying to sell more hoodies.
Yeah.
Come in.
I think this has been a really good vendor talk, you guys, and look forward to those pop-up shops coming our way very soon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Vendor episode season 2, episode 2. Thank you and good night.